Hello, everybody, and welcome to round number 9 of the Swiss here at DreamHack Winter 2018. Bringing you all the action will be myself and Lorinda joining me on the desk. How you doing, Neil?
Doing good. Round 9, my favorite round of DreamHack, where everybody decides who's going to be the top 16. I say this every time, but it's such a scramble to get those slots this time around. We've still got like 40 players in contention, but some of the favorites, Orange, Tyler, Ball Control, those guys are looking good.
Yeah, they had excellent runs at the tournament this time around. Tyler, of course, needed that top 32 to get 4 points to get two-star master qualification with 175 total points. So congratulations to him on that incredible feat. And then Board Control was 7-0. Do you know how he did in the last round?
Orange beat him, so Ball is now 7-1, Orange 7-1.
But you know what? That's a happy ending. They both get to go to the top 16. Maybe they'll end up facing each other there. That will be where the real grudge match happens. But Board Control had already qualified after round 7 when he was completely undefeated. So do we have any undefeated players now?
None.
Okay,
Absolutely
so Board Control
nobody.
was it.
Ball Control was it, and he's let the side down for the UK.
That's okay.
You're fired,
7-1
Ball.
is still real good. Board Control can rest easy tonight, depending on how he does in the top 16. But we'll get to that after this round, because this is our 9th and final round of the Swiss. Players who are currently 6-2 will be in their win and in matches. A loss, however, doesn't necessarily count them out. According to tiebreakers, we may still have some players who at 6-3 still qualify for the top 16. Don't quote me on it, but that is what I was told. So it's always exciting when players can have that 6-3 record and still qualify for the top 16. It requires them to have won pretty much the first 4 or 5 of their matches, and then had maybe a worse day today. A little bit more forgiving there, but you need to have very, very good tiebreakers.
You do. I always prefer it this way around, though. Like, nobody misses out who's got the 7 wins, and 1 or 2 people get lucky. It's always worse when there's 17 players on 7-2 and 1 misses out on tie breaks.
That's horrible.
That always feels terrible.
Pizza was 17th at DreamHack Atlanta with a 7-2 record and just missed out on tiebreakers. That's a horrible feeling, because usually 7-2 is 100% secure, but depending on how many players are actually at the event, sometimes it's not. This time, however, it is going to be good to go for those players who are 7-2 or 8-1 potentially, as Orange or Board Control will potentially end up being 8-1 after this round. But we are going to be revisiting Bozzzton, who we got to see on stream earlier today. He beat Fayeli 3-0 with Mali Druid, and he's going up against Yukazo, who is a player that you came up to me and said it's Bozzzton versus
Yeah.
I'm like, You're like, yeah, I had no idea what the production said his name was. We've never heard that name before, but it is in fact Yukazo.
Yep, from Team Wicked, I think he's looking there, which is usually a sign that someone, not always, there may be a Team Wicked, but quite often people just put a team name in.
Oh, just like Team...
Team Cora.
Team Cora.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. You want to join Team Cora?
If there was a Team Wicked, I'm sorry, don't at me. Not at me, I'll say sorry.
Get on Twitter after this and figure it out, and we'll do some sleuthing. Team Cora's on the case. But regardless, Bozzzton and Yukazo both are at 6-2, I believe. So the winner of this match will qualify for the next stage of the tournament, the top 16. The loser, not necessarily out of it just yet. Lorinda, that's a logo, man.
That's an instant apology.
It's a team.
My favourite team from this point onwards.
Team Wicked.
That's it. I'm really sorry.
There's a lot of smaller teams in Hearthstone and other esports, of course, that
Especially
don't
in
necessarily
Europe,
get a lot of screen time. So, you know what? Great to see one of the players getting some screen time with a 6-2 record. Yukazo will qualify for the top 16 if he beats Bozzzton. But we saw Bozzzton earlier today with a really formidable lineup. Mali Druid, Evenlock, Shutterwalk Shaman, and Death Rattle Hunter performing very well for him. Although he only actually had to use the Mali Druid to take down Fayeli. And from there, it seems like he's done okay. He's 6-2, which means he ended up losing another one of his rounds, either round 7 or round 8. And it will come down to this round to determine whether or not he has an easy road into that top 16. But we'll get a look at Yukazo's lineup very shortly.
I've actually managed to get it, I think.
Do tell.
Totally quote me on it, but Hunter, Shutterwalk Shaman, Taunt Druid, and even Paladin, I believe.
That is surprising.
That is, unusual. We haven't seen Taunt Druid forever, because Togwaggle sort of somehow started to occupy that spot, so... I've got that right, and I haven't written down the T wrongly, like I've been known to do many times.
You're right. Togwaggle Druid and Taunt Druid do operate very similarly in that they are the control killer druids, whereas Malagos is much better against mid-range decks, I suppose. Nah, not necessarily. Decks that can't get above 30 health very easily. But
which is none, but yeah.
But Taunt Druid it kind of has fallen by the wayside. I believe Scintilal actually had Taunt Druid at DreamHack Atlanta, and he finished second at that tournament, and that was just about 2 weeks ago. So we can actually go ahead and take a look at the bans now and see what will be off the table here for these two gents. Will we get to see the Taunt Druid? I kind of hope so. It's one of my favorite Druid decks to play, although I will say it is very heavily dependent on ramp, even more so than some of the other Druid decks. But Yukazo's Hunter has been banned away, and Bozzzton's Shutterwalk Shaman will not be available. That leaves the Druid, Paladin, and Shaman, and for Bozzzton, the Druid, Hunter, and Warlock. One of the few players that we've seen not actually playing Paladin. Even Paladin has been so popular this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of even Paladin and more Shudderwalk than we're used to, I would say. I mean, it's quite a common deck, but we're seeing it a lot in this top sort of 32 area of the Swiss, I think.
I'm happy about that. It's a deck that takes a lot of experience to pilot very well, but when you have that experience and you are a very competitive, talented player, the deck can do it all.
Yeah.
It has a definitive win condition, which I really like, but it also has some game against aggressive decks.
And I was talking to Darek in the last round a little bit about it, and where are the aggressive decks?
There just
We've seen
aren't
a
a
zoo.
whole lot of them.
Yeah.
That's why Hunter's doing so well.
Yeah, Hunter and Shudderwalk's filling a very similar place, which is weird because you tend to think of Last Hero as, I'm going to bring Quest Rogue because it's one end of the spectrum, and I'm going to bring Odd Rogue because it's the other end, but actually people are sort of just bringing goodish stuff decks for the large part now.
It seems to be working out. After this round, of course, we'll get the full scope of the top 16 and be able to see what lineups definitively have won out over others. But imagine it's going to be a pretty good variety, I would think. We've seen so much differences in the lineups over the course of the weekend that I doubt one is going to stand out as being definitively better than another. But we want to know, you at home, are you rooting for Bozzzton with 3 Zs, or do you think that Yukazo is going to take this one down? We don't know much about Yukazo, but you know what? He looked capable, he looked calm, and that's enough for me. Make sure you get hashtag Bozzzton in the chat or hashtag Yukazo. Make sure you're following the channel as well for your vote to count. Lorinda, you don't have to hashtag unless you want to, of course. Who are you voting for?
I guess I have to vote out loud. I've just upset an entire team, which makes me want to vote for Yukazo, but I am going to pick Bozzzton. I just feel, not even looking at the lineup, I've looked at the lineup, I know what it is, but Bozzzton, I think, he's just great in these situations. He's very solid at getting those top 16s. I think he'll get another one.
Smelly Druid was really looking good earlier today. Taking down Faeli 3-0 is not easy to do. He's a really talented player, and, again, we just don't know much about Yukazo. I mean, maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe he'll be great. I really hope he does. But I'm going to have to give my vote over to Bozzzton as well. He's the tried and true, and I would like to see him make a deep run in this tournament. I think that'd be pretty cool. But that's our votes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you vote for Bozzzton or Yukazo? Survey says...
Remember, chat, you all voted for Faeli earlier.
They did vote for Faeli earlier.
How did that end?
I mean, that was understandable.
Whoa!
A 50-50 split. Now, that I've not seen in a very long time.
No, not at all. And Bozzzton just edging the lead very slightly. But 50-50 is the first thing we saw. That's what counts. So...
We'll take it. Very close, no matter what. So... maybe a slight edge there for Bozzzton, but not much of consequence. So some Yukazo fans out there for sure, maybe knowing something that we don't about
Taunt Druid fans, because it is looking okay in this lineup.
I love the Taunt Druid, especially with the Shutterwalk Shaman gone. The Death Rattle Hunter has a really good matchup against the Taunt Druid, but Taunt Druid against Mally is really sweet. Taunt Druid against Evenlock, not so bad.
I think it's that Taunt Druid versus Mally they're looking at. We saw how Bozzzton just cruised with a Mally earlier. Well, there's a blocker this time.
Yeah, there absolutely is.
We're going to have to see if Bozzzton can play. We know he can play the other 2 decks. He's played them for 9 months. But, we're going to have to see him actually play them this time.
Well, we're going to be getting into game number 1 very shortly. Remember, this is last hero standing, so it's a blind pick for the first deck, but then the winner of game 1 will keep their deck, and then the loser will switch to counter. So last hero standing does tend to favor the player who wins that first game. It's going to be even Paladin up first for Yukazo, Bozzzton with the Death Rattle Hunter, and a Keleseth in the opening hand. Not necessary with this deck, but really nice nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when I check stats for keeping Keleseth in Mulligan for Hunter, because I feel the same. It's like, it's not necessary. And then you look at it, and it's still like the first or second best card in most matchups. It's just not that 72% to the top and then 61 underneath is like 63, 62, 61. It's just a nice start. But against the Paladin, which is capable of making some pretty chunky stuff early on, like the double corpse taker we see here, having that buff is going to make a lot of difference.
Yeah, it absolutely will. I think more so the Keleseth buff. It definitely is powerful in this deck, but the deck itself is so strong and functions without the necessity of the Keleseth, whereas Zoo Warlock can struggle with some basic functioning if there is no Keleseth available.
Oh, lovely pickup as well for Bozzzton.
And Candle Shot. And this matchup is... Well, it's much better for the Hunter than up against Odd Paladin, that's for sure. The Hunter struggles against very aggressive decks. Odd Paladin can be a headache and a half for the Hunter deck. But Even Paladin's a whole lot slower, and Even Paladin thrives on building a board early and then relying on a quality Consecration or a quality Pyro to be able to clear a board and continue putting pressure on. Well, with things like Cube and Devil's Sore Egg and Kathrina, that's going to be a whole lot harder to actually fully clear a board.
But looking at the hand that Yukazo has, it plays two Keleseths, and he's got them both. Corpse Taker and Corpse Taker. They buff themselves up, they don't bother buffing the deck, and they are just insanely difficult to deal with if Yukazo can pick up one of those many buffs in the deck. And having two of them is going to enable this to be a fight for at least some time. The weakness we picked on all weekend, I think you started this, so you're to blame, but is the card draw for the Paladin.
I don't know why I don't like this deck.
I didn't, and then I played it, and I still don't know why I don't like it.
I used to like old Even Paladin. Even Paladin Call to Arms was broken as hell, but this deck is just, I don't know. It feels like a really good arena deck to me. And you would think that would make me like it even more. But it just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a tuned, functioning deck. It has Wind Fury Harpy in it.
Which is, it's fine.
And
I can
quite
forgive
often
that.
Doesn't have Tyrion. That just all feels wrong.
I don't know.
I get it. I understand why all the cards are there, but then when you sort of break it down and sort of say the words out loud, Wind Fury Harpy.
It just makes me... I would be hard-pressed to bring this deck over Odd Paladin, but the decks do function very differently in very different types of lineups. They are the same class, but very much not the same deck.
Yeah, it is surprisingly different. It just doesn't make... It goes tall, not wide, is a very simple version of it, although it does both quite well.
Which gives it some insulation against Druid, whereas Odd Paladin can be quite weak against Druid. Downfall for Yukazo slightly is that he didn't have the coin this game, so he wasn't able to go coin Corpse Taker into Corpse Taker.
That would have been pretty spectacular, actually.
Yeah, the coin definitely benefits Yukazo a lot more than it would have benefited Bozzzton this game. Usually the Hunter is able to hold on to the coin until turn 7 when they can coin out Kathrina. It's just not so important to their early game plan.
Flanking strike was the missing piece of this puzzle. Bozzzton was curving out beautifully from this turn onwards without that. And it was like, what's he going to do this turn? This looks like a messy turn, was the line I had ready. But it's not a messy turn. He is just... He doesn't even need to attack. He's going face. Doesn't want to blow up his Spider Bomb, obviously.
Nope, he gets to keep that Spider Bomb on the board. That's going to be a real big threat going forward. Potentially even cube it next turn, I would think.
Yeah, it seems decent. There's no trickery for the Paladin, usually. Don't think you get to sort of fit a Spellbreaker in there very easily.
No. Although, honestly, it would make... some sense in the grand scheme of the deck, but I would think it would have to fit into maybe the Kangor spot.
You have so many 4s that it doesn't really fit unless you're playing it a utility 10 drop.
Yeah.
It's not an actual 4. But Yukazo dealing with the board pretty nicely, but the downside here is, sure, he's got a 1-1, he can Spite Vision next turn, that's all lovely. But things are going to start getting big for Bozzzton very, very soon, as in... Now, if he wants to cube, and this is the decision, does he want to occupy the board with a cube and waste it? Or does he want to try and get value out of that cube? Because the Paladin, he's seen a Corpse Taker go, so he's not expecting to die too quickly. The second Corpse Taker might be a bit terrifying.
I would think that he wants to hold on to that cube, especially with a Savannah High main in hand.
Terrascale with a Keleseth buff is probably big enough to be fine.
4/4 challenges about as well as a cube.
Yeah.
Not as much help.
It's near enough, yeah.
You know, the cube's not going to take down a steeded dude right away either. And if Yukazo doesn't have Spikered Steed, just decides to go wide, then Mossy Horror is there.
I think the only question is, do I ever get to play this cube if I don't play it now? The way the curve looks. I think that's the only reason to even think about this.
Maybe on turn 7.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, turn 8 isn't entirely slotted. It all depends on what Yukazo does and how Bozzzton chooses to react, but it is almost definitively going to be Savannah High Maid next turn. And I think holding onto the cube in the chance that he draws into a play dead in particular is fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go wide against the Paladin, obviously it has got the equality pyro clears, etc. But you've got so many death rattles, it doesn't really matter at that point. You go wide, some of it's in a cube, they can't kill the cube, oof.
Then you've just got hyenas on the board, and then you have initiative again, and Paladin has a hard time if they're not ahead the entire game.
That being said, there's going to be a couple of turns here where Bozzzton is put under immense pressure. Don't forget, I was going to say he doesn't know there isn't a Blessing of Kings, but it is now a Blessing of Kings. And Bozzzton has no... I mean, Mossy Horror is very tempting suddenly.
Yeah, but the play dead picked up as well. Bozzzton could just put 2 3/3s on the board and the cube immediately if he wants to.
Yep, that's very tempting too.
Well, I guess the question is, how greedy can Bozzzton be in the face of a Corpse Taker with Wind Fury?
Fairly, but not too much. I mean, when does he get a better Mossy Horror? He gets bigger ones, he gets ones that kill more things, but when does he get one that's actually affecting the game more than right now? And a 2/7 isn't bad.
No, it's not.
2 2/7s, which you could have next turn, is even better.
That's true. He needs to think what is the best line that allows him to kill the Corpse Taker next turn, though.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the Mossy Horror.
So this is always happening, and he's still thinking, so he's just getting some animations out of the way, and he's just going to go wide now.
You know what? This is even better. This is 100% much more likely to kill the Corpse Taker on the next turn. Yes, he's going to take backlash from the Blessing of Kings if Yukazo wants to use it this turn.
The Mossy Horror will kill more.
But he can recover from that.
Yeah, he can get rid of a Spike Ridged as well next turn. And with the Mossy Horror, kill the entire board if that is played. So yeah, delaying that one turn. Super nice. Obviously a much nicer board. And this is Yukazo's one chance to do a lot of damage. He doesn't know that for sure, though. And with Bozzzton, it's very hard to read if he had no choices at all or if he had 10 choices, because he ropes a lot.
Yeah, he is a very methodical player, I would say.
And this is where last turn is going to be absolutely beautiful for Bozzzton. But Yukazo making the right trade, and actually, it doesn't work out that great for Bozzzton. Because he wouldn't have been able to take this down.
Things are a bit difficult now. The Grizzly, however, does put up a bit of a wall for Yukazo to have to find a way through.
And that's all Bozzzton needs, is a little bit of time. This thing's going to have 13 health in a minute. I don't mean the Grizzly. So you've got to put the damage into the Corpse Taker to stop the Wind Fury. I mean the Corpse Taker with the Blessing.
Cheeky. Nah, he's going to hit it, so he can at least kill off the cube next turn, get 2 more Terror Scales on the board.
And he wants to... The reason to hit this now would be if there's no more buffs, then this can't hit the Grizzly, then hit something else. We can see there is another buff, so it's going to be a bit awkward. A bit orcs.
That'd be quite awkward. Kings comes down, Corpse Taker kills off the Grizzly for free, and then... well, just push his face. You can drop the Glass Knight as well this turn.
Yeah, and the amount of damage that's coming in here is going to be 10 to face. 9 from the Corpse Taker, 1 from the dude. So Glass Knight is adding up to just 1 off lethal for next turn.
Bozzzton will be able to kill the Corpse Taker, but Yukazo has gotten the damage through that he's needed. Bozzzton down to just 4 life. That's not going to do it.
Well, he's only... yeah, there's no way. No way stopping it.
If he had 9 mana and the Spider Bomb was a 2/2, then you could put it together with the Mossy Horror to try and kill the Glass Knight, but... well,
getting it
that
done
Spider
then.
Bomb's a 3/3, and he only has 8 mana. The Paladin just a little bit too quick there for the Hunter.
Yeah, and nice choice not to go with the Blessing first, just getting it all stabilized and looking very calm there, I've got to admit. Yukazo, that 1-0 lead.
I will say, that was a good showing for the Paladin, but it did require Corpse Taker on 4, Corpse Taker on 5, Steed on 6, into a Blessing of Kings. But I suppose that's how they build the deck. That's their intention when they're building this deck, is to capitalize on the power of that Corpse Taker.
I mean, the 2 Corpse Takers is fairly fortunate, but he didn't have the coin, so they had to do it the slow way. You don't have to lose your first one. But the second one getting the job done there.
And that was with a rather fortunate draw from Bozzzton. He had the Kaliseth on 2. He grew into the flanking strike on 4. The Spider Bomb was able to survive, just still not able to get enough done past those buffs from Yukazo. And now Yukazo is going to have that Paladin up yet again. Bozzzton with the opportunity to counter with Mali Druid or with even Warlock.
I think a lot of people say both of those are counters. I'm quite happy to play the Paladin against either of those 2 decks.
Yeah, I think the Paladin's supposed to be reasonable against Mali Druid. Even Warlock, maybe I would be a bit more inclined to bring in, but you're looking at the power of equality being the big factor in that matchup. Can the Paladin land a really nice clear?
You're also looking at the looming nightmare of the Taunt Druid, which you don't really want to lose your Mali into. You want to... So you don't want to lose your even lock into. So you might want to queue the Mali Druid now, even though you think it's maybe slightly less chance, just so you've still got your even lock available if bad things happen.
Taunt Druid just bops Mali Druid. You do not want to go into that matchup as the Mali Druid. So you're right. Bozzzton's going to queue up the Mali Druid first. Hope to take this win here, and then force out from Yukazo very likely the Taunt Druid.
And then just
Bozzzton
get into counter queues and pinch a win.
Yeah, this is the really difficult situation that a player is in when they lose the first game in Last Hero Standing. It is hard to come back from that deficit.
Especially in these lineups we were talking about, which are much less polarized than a lot of Last Hero tournaments.
Everything has been about 60-40, 55-45. Nothing is like crazy favored. We haven't seen Dead Man's Hand versus like Shutterwalk Shaman, for instance.
Yeah. And I think the one time it happened, the Dead Man's actually won anyway.
Okay, Odd Warrior versus Shutterwalk Shaman.
just to be really
I'm not even going to get into those
Azalina messes.
Occasions.
We've just had an Azalina mess happen, so we don't want more of those.
All right, Twig on 4 is pretty good.
It's going to need to be.
Is Yukazo running Acidic Swamp Ooze?
I don't know, but I can find out. Let's have a look.
It's not positive. I think some of the even Paladins are. But they don't necessarily have to. No ramp for Bozzzton. Twig on 4 is pretty good. Malfurion on 7, also pretty good, but he'd much rather be playing Twig on 2 and Malfurion on 5.
I said I'd find out.
Or Twig on 3, I suppose.
We might find out. Okay.
Go, internet.
Yes,
you got this.
Exactly what I was thinking.
As Admirable would say, we are at the mercy of technology.
And my eyesight. There is one Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Statsman Lorinda.
Statsman Lorinda, who can finally use the internet despite his ancient years.
Hey, you're only like 27.
Of course, but that's still old in this game. Well, not too menacing here, but it's not about what you can do now, it's about how you can deal with those monsters later on. Bozzzton last game did use his removal fairly aggressively at the start. Rightly so, because he had an amazing curve. But maybe it's just slowing him down a bit now.
Spellstone is a very easy clear here, but with just a couple more hero powers, Bozzzton can upgrade that Spellstone to 4, and then suddenly hero power plus Spellstone kills a Corpse Taker. Is that more valuable?
And are you willing to take 9 damage from this thing to do so? He says, yes, I am.
That is the one thing that Druid really has going for it, is the ability to gain life. They have so many armor gaining tools in the deck. When
people get sad about Druid cards, which happens occasionally, I've seen 1 or 2 people maybe mention that some of the cards are quite good.
I get sad.
The Spellstone is the one that often gets forgotten.
Is he? I don't get sad about that. Good card, though.
Yukazo nods there after playing a coin, blowing up his own Pyromancer without...
Did he not attack?
No, he nodded as if to say, yeah, I meant to do that.
Oh.
No, he didn't. He nodded as if to say, yeah, I was always going to do something stupid on stream today.
Well, I would have liked him to catch himself in that, at least attack first. I think coining out the Corpse Taker is still fine.
Yeah.
But at the very least, push that 3 to face. That's a little bit of a blunder there.
But he looks so instantly focused, and that's the key. You're going to do something like that first time on stream. It just happens to everyone. People never believe me when I say it, and then they get up there themselves, and afterwards, the number of people who said, you were right.
It is
I did
not,
do something stupid on stream.
It's not easy. I mean, you and I cast all the dang time. We're used to being on camera, but I played in the Boomsday pre-release stream thing last season. And I was a bundle of nerves just sitting in there playing against Regis Kilben, who's like, I love Regis, but he's not Kalento.
Even Sottle was nervous first time on stream, but I didn't tell you that, and don't tell anyone.
My lips are sealed. I'm not sure about the 8,500-ish people watching. I'm also not sure about how many people are watching right now.
Hopefully not Sottle.
It's a rough guess. He doesn't like us that much. I cry about that sometimes, too.
Do you?
No.
Don't tell him.
I won't give him that power.
I've cried every night about it since 2014, but I've come out stronger
That's
for
because
it.
he bullies you directly. He has to bully me over different time zones. It's harder.
So Yukazo rebuilding the board, but this time around there's no second corpse taken. This time around, Bozzzton has a lot of answers ready.
This is kind of what I'm talking about. If the Paladin deck doesn't get exactly what it wants, it just looks okay.
When we saw Bozzzton play this earlier, we saw him never use a naturalize no matter how bad it got.
He was very stingy with it.
He just didn't use it until it was lethal.
But you know what? Maybe that's the right way to approach.
I think
the
it is,
earlier you naturalize, the more options you give to your opponent.
Just don't do it. Like he resisted under some pretty severe stress doing it. And the thing that you've been on about a lot is the card draw. Don't give them the cards then. Don't help them do the one thing they can't do. And this is exactly how he took it apart earlier.
Even going so far as to use a swipe there on the face just to kill off the recruit and knock off the Divine Shield of the Kangor, more importantly, so that Bozzzton could kill it off and not have to worry about a steed coming down this turn. It's not a very high-value swipe, but when you think about swipe single-handedly preventing Spike Ridge Steed, then it's pretty good.
And at some point soon, he's got Malfurion next, and then it's going to be a spell. He's going to have Arcane Tyrant and Floop on the same turn after a UI if he wanted at some point. That turns a board around in a hurry. It's like 1 million stats board swing.
Approximately, yes.
Yeah, I talk in estimated numbers so the audience can understand easier.
Well, it's because most of the time you're like, so-and-so has a 75% win rate, and his match record is 20-7, and we're like,
all right.
Whoa, numbers.
I try not to do it too. I just talk in round numbers now. Bozzzton has a 1,000,000% win rate. In Druid versus Paladin matches in 2017.
In the last 15 minutes, he has a 0% win rate in Druid versus Paladin matchups.
Are you mocking me, young lady?
No.
Good. I believe you.
Very tired.
Decision time now. Malfurion was the obvious choice, but the Nourishes would be tasty for the mana, except it wouldn't empty his hand enough for the UI to be good anyway.
Well,
actually, if he goes Nourish,
Tyrant, Hero Power, kill the Pyro.
Floop if you want as well.
I could probably Floop in that case.
I don't think the Floop's... It's such a wide board you get.
Floop.
Floop's 5/4/4 is a good removal cards, and he needs a lot of removal cards. It depends if he sees his route to victory as double Malygos, which he probably does not.
What to do?
But maybe he sees his route to victory as... Well, you know what? With a Twig about to be active and a Dream Petal Florist in hand, if he finds the Malygos, he's going to have 20 mana immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw it very different earlier where he's using his swipes and his Moonfires to control the board, therefore he had to go for a different route to victory. This time, again, we talk about playing the cards in your hand basically differently each time, but he sees the same route to victory this time. Just occupy the board, ignore the thing my deck is supposed to do, and do the thing my deck is actually doing right now.
Yeah, go ahead and play the Floop as a Tyrant because Bozzzton is going to have the mana available when he finds the Malygos, which is likely to be quite soon considering Ultimate Infestation is coming down next turn. And with only one Acidic Swamp Ooze in the deck, we can obviously see that Yukazo does not have it yet to be able to get that Twig out of there.
One thing Bozzzton has to be very aware of is the option for Equality Avenging Wrath later in the game. As you said, Druid gets so much damage now, or so much armor now that it shouldn't matter. But that is the one thing that can cause a bit of an accident.
It can be quite a bit of burst damage.
Yukazo trying to force that naturalize.
Okay, Bozzzton down to 16. It's going to be really tempting for him to use it.
You have to kill this minion, I think.
He wants to attack with the Twig this turn, but he's going to have to take 4 more damage from that. Even so much that Yukazo is pushing that True Silver to face.
So does the trade UI mean he dies anyway? I don't think it does. And Yukazo, I feel that if he kills the 3-4, he protects his minion from this really obvious UI because of the Nourish mana last turn. So much better.
Double pads and a second Tyrant picked up, though. That's a lot of armor gain for Bozzzton. So can he afford to push this Twig to the Stegodon? He would go to 15, and there's 3 on board for Yukazo. Yeah, there's not a way that the Paladin really pulls 12 damage out of thin air. Avenging Wrath is 8.
Yeah.
If it all goes face, and then there's a True Silver, but all of the Avenging Wrath missiles have to go face in that case.
Yeah, I feel that's Yukazo's first strategical mistake in terms of not killing the 3-4, then, and knowing that UI was very likely. If you get attacking with your 4-8 twice, it's better than... It's the same and you've got a better board than if you just put that 4 True Silver to face.
I understand that he wants to take this game quickly, but there was a very, very basic telegraph that Nourish for mana equals Ultimate Infestation on the following turn.
Yeah.
So he could have factored that in as being almost a 100% possibility, and then if it didn't happen, happy day, he doesn't have it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you kind of need to assume that he does.
And even if your read is wrong, the chances are that it's in hand anyway just because he's got a million cards.
And you know what? Yukazo missed 3 damage earlier this game.
Yeah,
Bozzzton
that
could
wasn't
be at 12
a strategic
instead
mistake.
of 15.
Yeah, that'd be a big difference too.
We are going to have to see in the next couple of turns if that really does end up being the difference between a win and a loss for Yukazo.
The double branching path for Bozzzton to get so much armor, depending on exactly how much he feels he needs, is such a massive deal now. And the Twig you've been talking about as well, another big deal because he can branching path twice and still have a Hearthstone turn. He can also just Alex Straza his own face and then branching path twice after killing 2 minions. That seems like a good turn.
So much that he could do this turn.
The only thing he's trying to be aware of is not to put too many minions down at once, because that equality will be there. Yukazo will have it in hand as long as he wants for this game.
He's going to get a good equality. There's only so many minions that Bozzzton really plays.
Exactly. So he's trying to sort of use them to occupy the board, but also not actually die in the process.
Is there any chance that he wants to get aggressive with this Alex Straza, considering he does have double
going
pads?
to, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to Alex face.
Wow.
Alex face, break the Twig. He can armor off of Malfurion, actually. Just gave me 8.
Give your opponent the problem. Fine.
This opens up for an equality Avenging Wrath from Yukazo. And then that would be 9 damage.
Yeah.
Assuming
that 4
Avenging
minions
Wrath
will
kills
die,
the minions.
which you kind of have to assume. But it's also his entire turn, and Bozzzton still has that double branching path as backup plan.
Yeah, he could play the Amani Berserker now down. No, he can't. He would have to hero power. He's only at 9. Silly me, assuming that everybody's at 10 mana when the Druid is.
You don't have to do the Avenging Wrath thing now. You've got another equality for later. You can equality Consecration, make a dude, play an Amani Berserker.
Is he playing 2 Avenging Wraths? I
That's a good
assume
question.
most of the even paladins do.
I think, yeah, we saw one earlier. I think it was maybe Failure that played 1.
But I think Fairley had Tyrion in his list, potentially. Man, Lorinda, you need a new tablet. I do too.
GG.
GG. No re. All right.
Press F. The tablet in
Pay
front
respect
of me.
for Lorinda's outdated technology. All right, Equality Consecration, hold on to the Avenging Wrath. Because again, Bozzzton only has so many minions in his deck. So there is a chance that this Avenging Wrath can deliver more than 4 damage to face in the coming turns. And this way, Yukazo gets to play the Amani Berserker and Hero Power if he wants to, but that plays into Spreading Plague a little bit too much.
But the big deal here is, yet again, he's held on to that Naturalize without giving the cards away, and yet again, he's armoring his way out of trouble, and your opponent has no real threats, given that you can defend so easily with the Plague, and you still have the Naturalize if you have to.
Bozzzton, if he wanted to hit the panic button, could armor for 15 armor, or for 27 armor, excuse me, in a single turn. He could armor for an additional 24 this turn with the Innervate. He doesn't have to. Paladin only has 2 cards in hand. And from this point, if the Paladin's not already won the game, it's very likely that they are going to lose the game without the draw of, say, Lich King into, like, Army of the Dead very quickly.
If you're finding this matchup hard from the Druid side, watch Bozzzton's 2 streamed games today. Watch how he's just approached using his health total as a resource for the whole game, not giving cards to his opponent, using his minions as a resource. We had a floop just for a 4/4. And how he's gone about making more removal. And both the games were terrifying. And both the games he kept his nerve, kept the naturalize. It's just been a really nice show of how to play this matchup from Bozzzton today.
It takes a lot of experience to be able to take that much damage willingly. I mean, he was swinging with the twig into taunt minions turn after turn, putting himself down to
basically one or two of
like
lethal.
12 health. It was very close to Yukazo being able to close out this game.
Yeah, there's been no estimating, I don't think I die. He's been making sure, okay, the most I can take from Equality Avenging Wrath is this. I can go this low. And I do enjoy watching when somebody so obviously perfectly understands a matchup.
And we don't get to see Bozzzton play all that much.
Yeah, we sort of tend to see him once per tournament somewhere around, but it's not always the A stream, sometimes it's one game.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that has hung in there through, again, a season that almost anybody in the world would take if offered, but he feels, I think, that he's lacking that big one to prove himself. And it's definitely in him. And if he wins this, he'll be in the top 16 again with another chance. But this top 16 is shaping up to be a tough one.
Already Tyler, Orange, and Board Control in the top 16.
Yeah, A8 is up there as well. I think he's 6'2".
Oh, jeez.
So, there are several others, which if I had a tablet, I could tell you who they were.
At least 2 of the World Championship competitors for this year?
Yeah, just 2. So far. And this is a tournament where, Saiyan isn't even here. He was busy getting his last few points for 3-star Master.
Which he did get.
Don't blame him. If he'd got them if he'd played this as well, most likely, but he went for the ladder route, which is the lower variance route, even if you're Saiyan.
And you top 16 at every tournament that you go to.
Yeah, top 2 every tournament you go to.
All right, Yukazo playing this one out. Bozzzton still has so much armor gain potential, and Yukazo does have very limited relevant threats left in the deck. Lich King, potentially a Tyrion.
Another comment I make often in this situation is spend every minute you can in that chair if it's your first time on stream. Play it out. It doesn't matter. Start thinking about your next game even if you don't think you can win this one. But don't concede it. Just get used to sitting there. Get used to those cameras pointing at you.
Absolutely.
Get used to the idiots talking about you, all that stuff. I think this is a very professional attitude from him for his first time up there.
Still no Malagos being found for Bozzzton, so he can't close out the game just yet.
Yeah, I mean, we saw earlier he didn't even bother closing out the game, Malagos. I think he is looking at it this time a bit more because he hasn't had to burn the swipes and Moonfires like before. But if he feels the need to, he will just Moonfire 1-1 and move on with his life.
And I think at this point you start to look at how much does Bozzzton really want to draw aggressively here to try to find that Malagos, because it's not easy for him to get through this Hydrologist now.
Yeah, he does need to end this game. The Paladin does keep plodding away quite annoyingly. A hero power plus a thing every turn adds up pretty quickly to an annoying board. And he's got a Mind Control tech, he has got Spreading Plague, he's got quite a lot going on. Let's see how many cards and how much armor he chooses to get here.
Okay, double armor.
It's a lot of armor.
Drawing cards gets you them immediately, but gaining armor will often result in extra turns, meaning that you can draw those cards anyway. And in this case, maybe 12 armor will mean more than 2 cards.
And he has plenty of time.
What would Uther do?
Well, Yukazo trying to get some value out of this Argent Protector if he can, but there isn't much value to be gleaned here, so... And he is actually just going to get the Avenging Wrath into the face while he can. He needs to get every point, I mean, he's not going to win, but he needs to get every point of damage he can into that face if he is going to ever win this game for the whatever route he sees. And again, nothing against him sitting there, making sure he makes technically correct plays for a few turns, get that coin out of his head a little bit.
He held on to the Avenging Wrath earlier. Instead of going a quality Avenging Wrath, he went a quality Consecration because the Avenging Wrath had the potential to deal more damage to the face. So might as well use it now. Technically, it's doing what Yukazo intended it to do. It's just not going to do enough. I mean, Bozzzton's still sitting at 27 life now after stabilizing at 6.
Bozzzton just looked over the monitor like twice in the last few seconds. It's like, get out of my game. Yukazo's like, no, I'm in the game because I deserve to be in this game. I've earned the right to be in this game and get out of it when I'm ready.
Beat me, bud.
Yeah, come get me.
You can't do it just yet. Death Grip is not a great pickup, but it's fine.
Tell you what is a great pickup is this Blessing of Kings.
That is actually very scary.
Yeah.
Bozzzton used the Naturalized to kill the Wind Fury Harpy, but he should still have a second one in deck.
See how clearly Yukazo is thinking here. The mind control tech is almost certain to be in hand. Yeah, sure. Wouldn't mind just seeing him make a 1-1, but he's decided if something dies here, I just reload with Chain Gang. I've got enough on the board.
Suppose he wants to play around Mind Control Tech and Spreading Plague sort of incidentally, because this Hydrologist is just good enough at this point. That could fetch another Lich King for Bozzzton. Yep. Just probably play that.
Seems like a good card. And remember, although the deck lists are open, you do only have sort of 8 minutes or something to actually go through them. So things like Spell Breakers just drift through your mind at moments like this, like, ugh. So it's okay where the deck's a fairly standard list, though. You just remember the outliers.
There's no other Lich Kings remaining, so...
We're out of Lich Kings.
I can pull Acidic Swamp Ooze. It's not quite as exciting.
No.
And it's also not Death and Decay. It's not Death Coil. It's not something that can kill this Hydrologist. Looking like Bozzzton may have to face tank 3 here if he wants to kill it off outright.
I don't know how many
Spreading
times
Plague down.
I'm going to have to apologise to Yukazo like every single time I speak about him in this game, because he's showing why he didn't get out of this game very clearly now.
Had he hero powered last turn, he wouldn't have been able to play the Glass Knight this turn.
Yeah, he's playing extremely tidily. Cora.
I'll take my 2 for 2.
Are you writing this script? Who wins? Tell me.
Well, Saiyan's not here. I can't pick him.
Okay, but he probably wins anyway somehow.
Write-in vote, I don't know.
Just one of the players just rips off a mask. It's just going to be Saiyan all along. Saiyan. I didn't need the points. So
turns out Hunter Ace is both Hunter Ace and just Saiyan. Now that's the esports drama we're looking for. Ooh.
Yeah, that's useful for the future. It's not so useful right now. But he doesn't need too much to be useful right now. Although, look at this health total from Bozzzton. He's been smacked and smacked and smacked for turn after turn, it feels like. But turns out that putting Lich Kings in the way of things, just back up to 26. But 26 is going to go pretty quickly if he doesn't deal with stuff soon. And now Yukazo, yeah.
Why do you think that Bozzzton chose not to kill the Hydrologist there? Because it was as easy as just Spreading Plague and hero power down the Hydrologist, and then the Stegodon doesn't automatically get over a Scarab. I don't know. I wonder if... He just seems very concerned with playing defensively right now, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Love how Yukazo chose his moment here. He knows the MC Tech's coming, so wait until you can put more than exactly 4 minions on the board, go super wide, have a 3-3. I can't do any better. It's going to happen if I don't go wide at some point.
Well, having actually played that Death Grip to steal the Acidic Swamp Ooze is hurting Bozzzton here, because now he can't just go MC Tech and play the Dream Petal Florist and automatically discount Mally. It's going to be a 50-50.
He can Mally and do Moonfire Trickery if he wants to. I think he's thinking about that. That's why he's losing the 1 mana first and thinking what to do with a 9. Because Mally is a 4/12. That's something we sometimes forget.
And after Taram's been played, Equality would kill off the Malagos, but it would also hurt Yukazo.
He is looking at lethal with Mally, Moonfire, and Moonfire Hero Power if ever he removes these taunts. So he's not going to want to do that, but...
All right, so Bozzzton gonna fight for the board a little bit more substantially here before trying to discount the Malagos and ultimately win the game.
Yeah, now everything is just... It might not even need to discount. If 1 minion hits face, that's it. Double Moonfire. Bosh.
Was there a setup with swipe face and look for Malagos double Moonfire on the next turn without potentially dying?
I think that was the issue. I think the potentially dying part of that. That's again why I was looking at maybe Malagos and just Moonfire the minions, but he's after this next turn win. This is actually setting up the win next turn anyway. But yeah, I think there were other lines there.
3 mana would have had to have been relegated to a swipe face. If he doesn't play the Acidic Swamp Ooze, that's fine. There's 2.
Which path to choose?
Would have had to forego something else on the turn as well, however. But it does set up the guaranteed 2-turn with the swipe face. Even if a True Silver is drawn and were to hit face just to put Yukazo back up to 12, Mally double Moonfire still closes out the game there.
So Consecration here for Yukazo doesn't necessarily need the Equality to do a lot of damage. But as has been the case all through this game, a lot does not equal lethal. And that's a massive distinction.
Yeah, not on either side. Although I will say, Yukazo has stayed in this one more substantially than I thought he would.
Yeah, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I said he should probably get out of the game. I didn't say that. I said he should stay in the game. But
things were looking pretty bad for him. And to be fair, the 4 cards that Bozzzton gave him from Naturalize have helped immensely in the last few turns. But now Bozzzton's just staring down lethal again. And is looking like it's going to have to be Mally double Moonfire this turn to keep him alive.
Can't see another way out. Actually, depending on the number of Avenging Wraths, again, pay F, you can... You can't. Swipe, trade just doesn't achieve anything. If you are going to swipe, trade, you can nourish. No, this is just me. He's only got 1 card left. So yeah, he's going to have to do what you said.
Moonfire the Saronite, trade over the Argent, Moonfire the Glass Knight. And hope that Malagos doesn't die. If it doesn't, Bozzzton can swipe face, he'll win the game.
But it does. It gets Equality and the 1/1 trades in. Ballonier is just more damage. And Yukazo's going to take this down.
What a game for Yukazo.
I knew that the deck would keep coming at you, but I thought Bozzzton had stabilized when he managed to not use a Naturalize for so long. And
I do wonder if, were there spots where he could have used that Naturalize or used that swipe earlier and maybe capitalized on the tempo gain from that? Or was there a way where he could have swiped face 2 turns ago to set up for the Mally double Moonfire lethal without dying on the back end being the big issue? I'm not positive. We'd have to go back and look.
There's 3 cards left in Yukazo's deck, so there's no obvious draw attempt here. I keep on about that a lot, but this is a legitimately close one for that. But he has to armor up. He can't put 3 to face with the hero power. That's a big deal. He can't get the Florist down.
Yeah, he'll just be dead from fatigue. So this requires Yukazo to draw absolutely dead. But I don't think there's a bad card that he could find at this point. Anything is good.
I think every single card in the deck is good here.
Yeah, Ken's good enough.
Because if it's a buff, he just puts it on the dude. And if it's not a buff...
It probably deals damage.
And Yukazo is looking very pleased, and so he should. Because despite the fact I said, look at how Bozzzton play these as a clinic, he has actually not
this game,
sealed it up.
I would think you might want to send to the emergency room. Yeah, not going Boston's way whatsoever. And you can see he looks pretty disappointed after that one.
The worst thing about that is I doubt he knows exactly where that went wrong. Because that looked under control all the way. And where it went wrong is Yukazo didn't make serious mistakes regarding MC Tech. And possibly Bozzzton underestimated him a little bit, expected him to walk into something there.
There was a turn earlier on where Bozzzton played Spreading Plague for 2-1-5s instead of doing something else. And I think he was maybe just assuming that the Plague wouldn't get any better than that, but there would have been much better Plague.
Well, the second he did it, Yukazo just went, dude, chain gang, more stuff, Tarim, and Bozzzton's like, oh, that could have been... I don't think he does that against Orange.
You think he underestimated him?
I think he might have underestimated him. I did. Put my hands up. I've underestimated Yukazo all game.
To be fair, Yukazo did miss 3 damage early on.
He's made some...
The Pyromancer did not go face. And I don't think it actually ended up changing the course of the game. But that was still a pretty good mistake at the beginning.
The thing with those mistakes, and it is a very relevant mistake, but I always defend those for people, especially first time on stream, because there's so much in your head that isn't normally in your head. That's not understanding Hearthstone. You don't go away and go to your coach or your friends and say, what did I do wrong? And they go, oh, you played a coin and blew up your own Pyromancer.
It's just getting ahead of yourself a little bit.
That's just a mechanical mess up under pressure.
Double Corpse Taker opening hand for Yukazo, but double Mountain Giant for Bozzzton.
So, but the other side of that, he's shown that he understands what he's trying to do strategically, which is actually what carries a lot of the time. We've seen top players make ridiculous single-turn errors. It doesn't mean they're bad. Look at Tyler yesterday.
Tyler, forget what Gunhowl or Black Howl Gunspire did. As I'm forgetting the name of the card.
Had like the best 3 months of his Hearthstone career, and the most famous thing he's done is die Gunspire in a Shudder Watt mirror.
To be fair, his face after he took about 12 damage from the Gunspire, when he realized what it did, was priceless.
The slow understanding of, okay, well, I'm fine here. Why are these cannonballs keep hitting me in the face? Oh no, I'm dead. Was great.
Well, very different situation here for Bozzzton. He's got double Mountain Giant lined up to go. Does double Mountain Giant beat double Corpse Taker, though? The Divine Shields are kind of hard to get through. Hellfire can clean up Corpse Takers after Divine Shields are gone.
And you don't know it's double Corpse Taker is a big deal. If you know the hands, you can play so differently. But in the real world, you're like, well, he's had 57 Corpse Takers in the first 2 games. The odds are every single individual game he shouldn't have 2 Corpse Takers. I'm just going to assume he hasn't got it again. Well, Bozzzton.
When you mulligan aggressively for Corpse Taker in general, you probably get one of them about 30% of the time.
Okay.
So to get 2 in consecutive games is rather unlikely.
Yeah, getting 2 is so much harder because it's not just like you've got to find 1 and it's not, you don't double the odds, because the second one's even harder to find. The first one you've got 2 to choose from. The second one you have to find the exact card. Black Knight could be handy, might be too slow, but he'll do something here.
Be a great remover for the Lich King potentially later on.
Yeah, Bozzzton even stole the Lich King and still lost that game.
That was a hell of a hydrologist. I will say. But Hellfire is a nice clean clear onto that Corpse Taker with the Mountain Giant attack. Coin Black Knight to kill off the second one.
Yeah.
And Bozzzton can throw 8 damage into the Recruit just to play around Spike Ridge Steed if he so chooses, which I'm assuming he will. Going into turn 6, if you can clear the board and have your own, that's pretty good. Giant dies to Consecration no matter what.
Yeah, and even, rating clearing the board to 8 to face as higher, because you're going into the turn where there's so many buffs available, plus equality anyway.
The Tarim is great for Yukazo. Quality Consecration is exactly what he wants in this matchup, but somehow he's still in kind of an uncomfortable position. Bozzzton has left him with nothing that he really wants to develop this turn. And that's the big issue here. Turn 6 is when you want to Blessing of Kings or Spike Ridge Steed a minion that you played the turn or 2 before. Not when you want to start developing 2-drops.
Yeah, it made a big deal that Bozzzton killed that 1/1 with his 8 attack minion, because that's just cut off all these options. And Yukazo certainly doesn't want to like Consecration here. There's, like you say, there's nothing that looks fun here.
What would Uther do?
Even if you Valanier, you're not setting it up to do much next turn.
If you Valanier, you're taking 8 damage.
I don't think you mind that so much, but you're not doing anything, but that's it. The reason I came to that is like, there's nothing happening. He's just going to go face. Cool.
Really?
He's got equality consecration, so I don't care about your 7/7s.
That's true. Will
And
Bozzzton...
Bozzzton now knows that.
Yes. So will Bozzzton fall for it? Probably not.
But will he force him to do it anyway? Potentially.
I would hope so.
Because he has 2 of them in his hand. Get rid of the equality consecration, and then next turn you've got giant options.
Bozzzton needs to play enough to force out the equality consecration, but not too much that it's an overcommittal. However, this board right here, maybe with just a Vulgar Homunculus, I think is perfectly worthy of equality consecration.
Possibilities.
Well, no, maybe it's just more worthy of Tarim at that point, actually.
You could, but this puts you very low on health, which is why I'm dubious. You can tap and just play the 7/7. And then next turn, you can play Giant and 7/7. But he's just going to play it far more sensibly and safe than that. I do not blame him.
That would be a nice 2-turn setup, though. Because usually turn 7 can be quite weak for even Warlock, as they often don't have a full hand at that point for the Mountain Giant to be 3 mana. And then turn 8 is when you really have 2 awesome 4-drops to play next to each other on the board.
Yep. He's found a way to make it count, though, because this actually sets up lethal, which is what you were talking about. Like, can you put enough down? Yeah, he found a way. But this is miss a go. And this was safer than the route I was talking about, I think.
Does Yukazo want to hold back this Valanier this turn?
Doesn't have anything he wants to put it on, but also he doesn't have much time. You don't put it on anything at all if you're dead.
And putting it on something is better than nothing because you intend to get it back anyway.
Yeah.
There are 2 Spellbreakers in the Even Warlock deck, so it's very likely that Bozzzton has one at this point and will silence whatever has the Valanier effect on it no matter what. So you might as well just get it down early, I suppose, and hope that Spellbreaker isn't there.
Yeah, you may also draw a True Silver that you want to play and have missed 4 damage because you held back too long. But I don't mind either way here. My instinct is I'd hit him in the face and hope.
He's really undecided about it.
Yeah.
I like this. It's consistent with what he did last turn.
Yes. Excuse the sharp intake of breath. I'm getting way too excitable in these tournaments these days. But this Dread Infernal is basically exactly what he needed here.
It puts Bozzzton into the very, very, very small percentage chance range to die to Avenging Wrath.
It does.
If he were to play the Dread Infernal this turn. Plus, it's just going to be more valuable to hold on to it. This, however, does not clear up the Recruit, meaning that Sunkeeper Tarim can come down and the Recruit can trade over immediately.
Avenging Wrath. There's so many good things again for the Paladin. Yeah, he's just going to Tarim this down and set up for next turn. Bozzzton's low enough on health and has been greedy enough with his Spellstone to give Yukazo the reason to do this.
Knowing there's no silence in the deck for Yukazo, and also knowing that Avenging Wrath and True Silver Champion can't be played together just yet because Yukazo's only on 9 mana, this is safe. It's also just building a better board than Spellstone would have been this turn.
Yeah. I'm not calling anything anymore ever again.
Which path to choose?
All the games are 50-50 on every turn forever.
The Hydrologist is buffed.
Can Bozzzton find one turn where he can stick down the Doomsday? I don't think he can. And we haven't seen Paladin do this on stream much. This is what I keep sort of explaining happens, but the fact he just chugs along quite happily. So it's... Bozzzton is being made to... really fidgets about. Like, he's normally very expressionless, but he is uncomfortable today. Because Yukazo is making him uncomfortable.
Back's against the wall. He's down 0-2 after defeating Fairley 3-0 earlier on today. And I believe he was 5-1 at that point, I want to say. 5-0 maybe?
One of those two things. I think he was 5-0.
5-0 or 5-1. He's had a bit of a rough day since then. He's 6-2 now. Needs to win this series to get a guaranteed top 16 spot.
So, Spellstone, Homunculus, Doomsayer is some cards that he could play.
Those are cards in his hand. Noble Sack's going to stop the Bone Rare from attacking in no matter what. If you Spellstone the Hydrologist, Valenier is active again.
Yeah.
You need to take that into account.
It's not fun. He's got to do something, though. Just do a thing.
Okay.
I think he spent the whole turn trying to play around another equality and realised that
he can't.
Yeah, he just can't.
Equality Avenging Wrath or Equality Consecration is just lethal here. With no equality picked up, the most damage he's got, he has 10 with Steed Kings.
My tablet's dead. Yeah, he can.
So that's just 10, right? It's just
10.
Just lethal. 10 equals 10.
Yes, 10 equals 10.
Yeah.
Steed on one, Kings on the other, 10.
But
game,
like in
set,
particular, match. Steed on the dude, Kings on the Hydrologist, go face.
Yeah.
Win game.
Yeah, 10 equals 10.
Yep.
And he sees it. And Yukazo, who I owe an apology to, has won this 3-0. Despite one or two sort of early slippery moments, he has won it, and deservedly so as well.
He definitely looked quite confident there. Even after missing with that Pyromancer attack, he realized it. He shook it off very quickly, and then from then on out, executed quite well. So congratulations to Yukazo. A 7-2 record after 9 rounds of Swiss does mean that he has qualified for the top 16. Bozzzton, not out of it just yet, especially since he had a very good first day performance. His tiebreaker should be quite good, and that means that if he wins, or no, he's just 6-3.
That's it, 6-3, yeah.
So maybe there's a chance he makes top 16. We're going to have to look at how many 7-2 players and above there actually are after this round. And of course, we've still got plenty of matches playing out in the rest of the tavern. That ended up being much less of a close series than I thought it would be after that first game.
And Bozzzton was still sitting there just looking. I think he's still trying to work out what happened in game 2.
That Melee Druid game definitely looked unusual for him. He looked shaky. And we've come to know Bozzzton as a very confident player, a player who is very capable. But for some reason in that game, it was like a complete 360 from his performance against Faeli, where he just 3-0'd with Melee Druid, looked completely confident. In that one, something went wrong along the way, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be hearing from him about that game later on.
And it's something, because the pro players will normally have a decision tree. They'll take the wrong choice and lose, and they'll go, okay, I took the wrong choice and lost.
Should have gone this way.
But he doesn't even know which decision it was that spiraled that down. I don't think he is aware of which particular. He won that game.
I think it was a lot of very small things.
Exactly. And
I think it was a lot of very small things.
I think.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll have to go back and take a look at that one again. But ultimately, Yukazo has qualified for the top 16. Bozzzton, jury's still out. We're going to have to wait and see. But we are not done just yet. Round number 9 continues. We are going to be back with another match right after this.